Welcome everyone to today's meeting for the West Perth Police Services Board on July 27th, and the meeting is starting at 9:02 a.m. Like to have a confirmation of today's agenda. Moved by Walter, seconded by Paul. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Before we continue any further, I'd like to say that Mr. John Moak sends his regrets. He was unable to attend today's meeting. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. Does anyone have anything today? No, none seen. Thank you. We know there are no delegations unless someone has snuck up. See none. Can we have a confirmation of the adoption of the minutes from May 25th meeting? Moved by Paul, seconded by Walter. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Correspondence. Do we have anything for correspondence today from anyone? See none. We'll move down to reports. Who's going to do that one? Sergeant McTaggart. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Harold. I'll start with the police service report for the month of May. Calls for service stood at 409, just a slight increase over 2021 and then an increase over 2020. We've had no public complaints. Our patrol hours, cruiser patrol are at 346, foot patrol at 28. We had 20 hours of school patrol, community mobilization hours at 12, ride program at 27. Our auxiliaries contribute 67 hours to our detachment for the month of May. 8 media releases relating to West Perth, included a stolen vehicle, brake-enter, an impaired driver, and 2 stunt drivers. 14 collisions in the month of May for West Perth, 12 of which were property damage and 2 resulted in a personal injury. Constable Johnson continues her morning discussions on the ranch. She attended a human trafficking coalition meeting. She taught a DNA collection on a recent scenes of crime officer course, and continued internet safety presentations at various public schools in the county. Through Crime Stoppers, we had 1 drug tip and 17 intelligence. Again, our auxiliary program committed 67 hours to our community. And continuous learning, we had 6 officers on block training, 1 on standard field sobriety training, 1 on scenes of crime, UPIP, which is an interviewing course. We had 1, digital forensic 1, and forensic interview team workshop. We had 1 officer. So we had quite a bit of training in the month of May, all of which will benefit the communities here in West Perth. We had 3 calls for service at the high school, which consisted of a threat, sexual assault, and a trouble with youth. 2 mental health calls for service in West Perth for the month of May, which was consistent with the month of April, and then down from 6 from the same time frame in 2021. Community events, as you all know, we hosted a free barbecue at the detachment in May, representing Police Week, and that was well attended, and I appreciate the board for supporting us in that venture. As per the noteworthy occurrences that I mentioned, in the May 16th, we had a Toyota Highlander stolen overnight from a residence on Adelaide Street in West Perth. The garage was broken into and some tools were taken, and then another vehicle on the property was rummaged through. And we had a value of $5,000 taken from that vehicle. And my understanding is the vehicle was left unlocked, which is a consistent piece we're trying to address month by month. We had a break-and-enter at a local church. Suspects entered through an insecure door and rummaged through several offices, and paperwork from some files and drawers was taken as a result of that. We also had an officer on proactive patrol on line 20, in which they conducted a traffic stop for speeding. The driver showed signs of alcohol consumption. Cruise screening device was used. He was arrested and transported to the detachment for further testing, and as a result charged with drive motor vehicle with blood alcohol concentration above 80. Again, on May 2nd, officer on general patrol stopped the motor vehicle 164. Driver was found to be traveling in excess of 140 kilometers an hour in an 8-kilometer zone. A 22-year-old resident from London was charged with racing. We sent out an media release on ATV safety, and there was some follow-up regarding the thefts of road signs from West Perth and Perth East, and I can speak to that. Myself and a member from our HSD went out on a proactive patrol at tip received down in Perth South. We went through some pretty heavy bush to follow up on these thefts. Unfortunately, we were not able to track them down. The lead proved to be uncredible, I guess, but at the time we didn't know. So we did follow up on that road signs. And to date, we still have not found the road signs. But again, we are constantly following through on that. Trends. The violent crime for West Perth stood at 11 for the month of May, which was a slight increase from 4 in April, and an increase from 10 during the same time period in 2021. Regarding property crimes, we had 13 in the month of May, which was up from 9 in April, but down from 15 during the same time period in 2021. Motor vehicle collisions. Again, this report reflects total collisions for the county. We had a slight increase in May at 11% increase, which is 3 in total. And then just the increase of over last year, about 81% in total, just because of the amount of people back on the roadways again. So we are seeing trends going back to normal traffic. So like I said, the violent crime when it comes to increase, we had a slight increase by 1 over last year, which counts to a 14% increase, but it's down by 36% from 2021. Our property crime, again, is down 20% and overall down 41%. And our clearance rates for violent crime, property crime, and drug crime are at 43%, and year-to-date at 44%. Statement of fees. I reviewed all the statement of fees. I don't see any errors here or omissions. It appears to be accurate. The false alarm report. As you can see, we had 3 alarms at Duracell, which I have spoken to the member over there as well, and I'll speak to that more in June, and the June report, sorry. And then if I just move to the call for service billing summary, I won't get into the weeds on this one. I'll just kind of go to the overall on this. So as you can see, for the month of May in 2022, we were at just over 2,000 hours, which is down from 2,700 from this time last year. So our hours are down, which is a good thing. So if there's any questions for the May report, I would ask that those get raised now. We're good? Okay. I'll move along to June. So again, calls for service in June at 357 in 2022, down from 419 in 21, and then just up from 250 in 2020. No public complaints again. And just going over some of the patrol hours here. Cruiser patrol at 389, foot patrol at 31, school at 36, community mobilization at 7, ride program at 7, auxiliary hours contributed 88 hours to our detachment. 10 media releases relating to West Perth, which focus on a stolen truck and trailer, another impaired driver, domestic assault, and 3 stunt drivers. We had 11 collisions in West Perth for the month of June, 11 of which are property damage, and fortunate enough, we had no personal injury. Again, Constable Johnson and Constable Lyon attended the Upper Thames Elementary School for the kindergarten and grade 1 class for community summer safety chat, as well as a cruiser tour. Was well received. And then they also attended the Mitchell District High School for the color run to support the Huron Perth Center for Children and Youth. And there was also a bike rodeo, referred to as Youth Safety on Wheels, which was also very well attended in the municipality of West Perth. As for Crime Stoppers, we had no drug tips, but we did have 19 intelligence tips. Again, auxiliary hours, they put in 88. And our continuous learning, again, our annual training, we sent 6 officers. We did send 2 officers on our radar instructor training. Bicycle training, we had 1. Standard field sobriety, we had 2. We had an individual on commercial motor vehicle training who was from West Perth. Uniform frontline interview program, 2. Coach officer 1. And then all our members attended our new radio system training, which is in the near future, we will be changing our radio system to an encrypted system. Community engagement, 8 calls for service at the Metro District High School in June. Most of those were officer patrols, but we did have a trouble with youth, a drug occurrence, and a sexual assault. 2 mental health calls for service in West Perth through the month of June, which was consistent with 2 in May and on par with 2 during the same time period in June of 2021. Referring to the noteworthy occurrences, I'll just touch on those here briefly. On June 19th, we received a report of a stolen truck and trailer between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. From a residence on line 21. Both vehicles were left unlocked and the keys were inside the vehicle. We had a 2008 Ford pickup truck, a black Chevy Silverado, and a black flatbed trailer stolen. Estimate of the property was approximately $75,000. We are still following up with that one, as well as in the end of June, 10 p.m. We had a traffic complaint on Road 164. Officer conducted a traffic stop. As a result of the traffic stop, the officer believed the driver was impaired. He conducted a SFSD test, which is a Stanfield sobriety test, which we've sent officers on, and referred that member to a drug recognition officer. And as a result, a resident of North Perth was charged with operation while impaired blood alcohol concentration over 80. On the end of June, we responded to a heated altercation on St. George Street in the municipality of West Perth. When police arrived on scene, they arrested an individual, and a 29-year-old resident of Mitchell was arrested and charged with spousal assault. And then again, we are seeing stunt drivers here as well. 3 more stunt drivers in month of June, doing 170, 130, and 144 in our 80 kilometer hours. So our officers are well aware of this, and our seems to be the roads that we're seeing the highest stunt drivers are line 20 and line 44. So line 20 is the Grand Bend traffic, as you know. I think 44 is now becoming the new route as well to the Ontario's West Coast, as they call it. So regarding our trends, violent crime in West Perth stood at 5, which was a decrease from 11 in May, and then down from 9 during the same time period in 2021. Our property crimes West Perth stood at 10, which was down from 13, and then down from 21 in the same time period as well. So as you can see, our collisions continue a slight rise. In the month of June, we had a 16% increase. This is for county, not specifically West Perth, and then a 69% total collisions year to date. Our violent crime for the month of June was down 21%, and overall down 10. Our property crime was down 31, and overall down 12. And clearance rates for all 3 stood at 41% for 2022 and 37% for year-to-date for June. Regarding our coverable expenses, again, I don't see any errors or omissions in this. Please let me know if somebody does see something. A false alarm report, as you can see here, we only had 2, of which Duracell is not one of them. So we'll hopefully keep that trend going. And then regarding the billable summary report, again, I'll just touch on the numbers at the back. We are at 25.45 in hours year to date for 2022, down from 34.33 from 2021. So that will be the report for June. Is there any questions regarding report as I have read.
Sergeant, I don't see anything about bicycle patrol. Is there no bicycle patrol currently? We did have one at one time.
So our bicycles that we had were in need of repair and
Okay.
service. So I can assure the board that that has been completed and that our bicycles are now operational and ready to be driven, and our members are aware of that as well. So in the coming reports, I will have some information on bicycle patrol for you with that.
And just to touch on a couple other things, as Sergeant McTaggart said, we're seeing the trend across the board, motor vehicle collisions rising across not only the county, but the region and the province. And as was said, a lot of that's people going back on the roads. One of the things that we've been concentrating on is impaired driving and speeding on our roadways. As you know, we do traffic campaigns pretty much every long weekend that goes on. And our members have been doing an outstanding job on these long weekend traffic campaigns. The May long weekend, they had over 200 charges. I want to say it was about 260. On the July long weekend that we just had, our members had over 300 charges just over the course of the 4 days. Many of those were stop sign related, speeding, quite a few stunt drivers, as well as impaireds, and a bunch of seat belts as well, because that was one of the focuses of that campaign. To the point that our officers in Perth, which we've got 56 constables in Perth County, we were number 2 in the region for the number of charges laid, and the only detachment that had more than us was Essex, which has over 200 members. So when you look at it as the work that our members are doing, they did a fantastic job out there, and our concentration was on all of the east-west roadways, which is basically what we looked at for the traffic traveling through Perth County on their way either from Kitchener-Waterloo into the west coast, into those areas as well. So remarkable work by the officers and some great success stories, and hopefully that will let people know that we are out there and we are doing that traffic enforcement, so that they think twice when they come through Perth County about how they're traveling. So I just wanted to bring that up as one of the things. You'll see in the May report, you saw on the front page, the calls for service had increased, but when you actually look at the billable calls for service, they decreased. So a lot of those calls for service are ones that aren't billable. So they would be our proactive traffic enforcement, criminal records checks, that type of thing. So don't be so concerned if you see that number increasing of the year to date. Be more concerned about the actual billable things. So that's just something to bring to your attention, because I know when we delivered it to North Perth, it was almost double, and it was mainly because of the proactive work that the officers were doing. So be more concerned about the actual billing than what you're seeing there.
Thanks for that. Is there any comments or questions from anybody, or we'll move along with the rest of the report?
Mr. Chair, thank you for that information. That was good. I didn't realize that. So wondered about it, but didn't put it together.
Anything else for reports? We're good? Okay. Guess we should do a recommendation to accept those reports then. That the West Perth Police Services Board accept the reports for the months of May and June. Moved by June. Seconded by Paul. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Move into the financial reports then. Has everyone had a look at those? Is there anything anyone has a question on? or a concern? See nothing. Move on to other business then. Oh, sorry, yes. Could I have a motion to accept the financial report for the Police Services Board for the period of May to June? May and June, sorry. Thank you, Walter. Seconded by Paul. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Other business. Contract extension, Mr. Jeff Brick.
Good morning, everyone. A report was included in the agenda package, or a letter was included in the agenda package. I've done some work, and so I won't go through the letter, but I will say I've done some work with North Perth about how they're going to handle. So June's just saying the letter wasn't included. So I'll quickly locate the letter. And I'll put it up. You wouldn't happen to have it, Levitsa, handy? I'll find it. It'll just take me a minute to find the letter. In the meantime, I'll hand around a resolution that I'm going to ask you to consider, and then I can just hit the salient points of the letter. So perhaps while I do that, Chair Harold, would you like to move to agenda item 9.2, and we'll come back to 9.1, given that I'm going to find a piece of correspondence in my email?
Certainly we can do that. Jason or Wendy, do you have anything to say about the online records check, moving to that? It seemed pretty straightforward and clear on what we got in the agenda. I just wondered if you had any comments on it, that's all. If you don't, that's fine.
No, I can speak to that. So as of June 13th, the record checks moved to an online format. So there's a third-party vendor that the OPP has used to support them with doing the online records checks. It's really reduced the time frame for the members that are putting it in. So it used to take 2 to 3 weeks for us to be able to respond back. Now the time frame is 48 hours from the time that they submit their information until the time they get their records checked back as well. So we're seeing that it's resulted in a reduction in the number of people actually coming to the front desk at detachment because they're able to do all of that online. The other part of it is that many people still require fingerprints when they get their record check, so they still will come to detachment to get their fingerprints done as part of it. So when they go online, they fill out their thing, all the information, they get their record check back, or we'll say you're required to attend for fingerprints. They'll call the detachment, make an appointment, and then come in and do that. So it's been a lot smoother than we actually had thought it might be. People are buying in, and there is supports for people through a 1-800 line, as well as online supports for people if they're having problems filling out the form. And so far, it seems to be going pretty well with the way people are adapting to it. And I think it was just a matter of time before we moved to it being online. We did have a lot of issues or concerns from people because our office hours are 8 to 4, Monday to Friday, and a lot of times that's the same time people are working, and so it was difficult to be able to come in for those record checks. So this has really allowed it to be any time that they're able to fill out the form. So it's been a benefit to the community being able to do that. So I think that's the update from me. If there's any questions about it, I can respond to those.
Wendy, previously or up until now, we have had benefit of the fees. So this will stop, I'm assuming. Is that correct? So we will be without like $10,000 approximately. I think it was 9,000 last year. 10,000 approximately. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So in the future, once we've moved to a to the full online, but it also means that the work that's being done by our members there is being moved to a provincial work. So it's not going to take Donna's time at detachment to do that, so she can do other work to support the municipality. Yes, it is a loss to those fees.
Are there any other comments or questions about the online records check? No? All right. Mr. Brick, how are you making out? Are you getting close?
No, but I can cover it. I sent the letter on to Dan and it didn't get on the agenda and I don't have a copy of it. So I'm not sure where it is and I can't locate it right now, but I can talk to you about the salient points of the letter. And so we received a letter from approximately 3 weeks ago. We received a letter indicating that our contract was expiring. Actually, I thought our contract expired at the middle of next year, so that caught me a little bit off guard, but I did go back and check our council report from October 30th, 2017, where we recommended a 5-year extension, which covered 2018 until the end of 2022. And my intention was that would be not in a election year, but it turns out it was. So we did a miscalculation then, or else we had to cap it at 5 perhaps, and we asked for 6. So I don't know how that went down, but in any event, the contract expires at the end of December. The letter from the OPP provides us with some options, and with the current contract expiring, then we also have to take into account that the new Community Safety and Policing Act is set to take effect sometime soon, an unknown timeline. And when that takes effect, our contract will effectively be null and void. So we have 3 options in terms of doing something about the contract in the short term. And one of them is we extend the current contract for either 1 year or 2 years by way of an amending agreement to the current contract. We could do a full renewal of the agreement with a term of 3, 4, 5, or even 6 years they're offering now. And or we could just let the current contract expire on December 31st, at which point, if the new legislation has not been implemented and our detachment board has not been started, we revert back to a Section 5.1 non-contract arrangement starting January 1st, 2023. So the amending agreement process could be done very compactly. We'd be able to begin immediately and have it signed off quickly. A full renewal is a really lengthy process, and there would be requirements to wait for annual billing statement, and I think it's, a renewal for a much longer term than we're obviously anticipating. So I don't think that's a good choice. And I don't think it's a good choice to allow the agreement to expire. So I think we really have one logical choice, which is to extend the current contract. And I would recommend that we extend it for 2 years, in which period of time the attachment or the legislation will be fully implemented, the detachment board system will be in place, and then if the municipality of West Perth is going to have to do a contract negotiation of some sort at that point in time, we can work our way through that process when we have more clarity on where we're heading. I developed this, we developed this report together, North Perth and West Perth. We're sending the same message to our police service boards. North Perth Police Service Board considered this last week without the written report, but they considered it, and the recommendation that they adopted is very similar to the one that I'm encouraging the West Perth Police Services Board to adopt. We both have Section 10 agreements, and we both like the 2-year extension. So I would ask the board to entertain the resolution that's before you. If you do so, I'll write this into a council report, which will come to the August 2nd council meeting. If you've supported it, I'll be able to say that you've supported it, and if the Police Services Board has some other plan, we'll certainly consider it. I would recommend this resolution, though.
Okay, Thank you for that report. Do we,
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Do we have any information at all about the transition? And I know that the province is supposedly back to work, supposedly. Do we have any information from the ministry? And we do have a new minister, although he's an old minister, like he's one that's been there before. Have we heard anything at all?
I haven't seen or heard anything at all.
Have you, whether you want to? Yeah, just saying that, you know, this is because I think our, from OAPSB, it was either September or God knows when, right? Well, September is coming real fast. So I know that I know the Parliament's going back next week, aren't they? Yeah, they're going to start back. So, but nothing mentioned, nothing interesting, isn't it?
Thank you, Jeff, for that. I just had a question around, I mean, the simplest way obviously is to extend the existing contract for 2 more years. To your point, we could enter into a 6-year contract, and when the changes happen, fundamentally it's null and void. So it doesn't really matter what length of term of contract that we would enter into, because I believe it would collapse anyway. From a pure financial standpoint, would there be an advantage to the municipality to entertain the idea of looking at a new contract or renewal terms, if you want to call it that, as opposed to an extension? I just didn't know from a dollars and cents standpoint, are we looking at the same net costs approximately with an extension versus a for lack of a better term, a requote for a renewal going forward? I get the simplicity of the 2-year extension, just questioned it from a financial standpoint. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Member Wetlaufer. And I think we're just in a complete void of information. And I don't anticipate we would be able to negotiate a significant extension that would save us money, because it wouldn't kick in until January 1st. And even if we had a savings in it, which I expect we're not going to be able to negotiate, pragmatically, it might only be in place for a month or 2, and the time to negotiate it. So it's such an unknown that I think our extension of our current terms is the logical path to allow us to work our way through this. And I expect that, perhaps full implementation will occur in October or November, and we could be in a restricted acts period of council and not be able to sign extensions. We wouldn't even have time to negotiate, frankly. So there are a lot of unknowns. I expect that there will be transition periods, and I would think that the province is very aware of the fact that we're in an election cycle, and it also take time for municipalities to extend, to enter into negotiations and figure out what our contracts will even look like, because the seminar that I think most of us participated in was very clear that there wouldn't be a contract. And so in the absence of a contract that has the province's signature on it, how do we retain our contract sergeant and local service level that Section 10 currently provides us? And then frankly, allowing this thing to lapse hangs those staff out in limbo, and I think costs us significantly in service continuity. So, and also creates disruption for the staff involved at the municipality, or at the OPP. So I think, it's the least painful of a set of complex options, and then the most efficient. And I think that makes it a logical choice. And I think we just have to wait for some clarity from the province.
And so an offer of extending the current contract is at the cost that it's is on the contract as it is today, right?
Yeah, it would be an extension of our current terms, which are based on annual billing cycles. And then, the following year's terms come back and we just fill in the numbers. So, and so when you talk about cost, I mean, our cost will go up a bit because our number of households are going up a bit, but that'll be relative to everyone else's. And perhaps our cost will be the same. It's hard to predict.
Thank you, Jeff, for that. A lot of clarity around that. Certainly, it's not my intention to allow or want disruption at the OPP level, either frontline officers or support staff. So, I think it's a good suggestion, and I appreciate the additional information.
Mr. Chair, I think the only savings from historical, like looking back and remembering a number of contracts never go down. They never have gone down, ever. The only savings would be the 5.1, and
Right.
we've always tried to fight against that because of the difference in the levels of service. We have two highways going through here, and I think we have to remember that always. So it's not just local people we're dealing with, it's personally, I think we have to extend it, but that's just my personal opinion.
Those are good comments. Are there any others? If not, do we have someone? I'll read the motion. We'll see if someone wants to move it or not. That the West Perth Police Services Board recommend the Council of the Municipality of West Perth authorize the signing of an amending agreement between the Province of Ontario and the Municipality of West Perth for the provisions of police services that will extend the current agreement until December 31st, 2024.
Or can we see the letter eventually? Like, can we have, I would like to see that. I think we need to do that. We can make a recommendation, whatever, but if it reads differently than we think, then we can rescind it, right? But I think the board needs to see that letter.
Yeah, we'll share the letter as soon as I can find it. I have to just go back through my sent items and sort it out, find it, and we'll send it out to the Police Services Board. So this report will then go to council with that mover, seconder, and resolution on it if you adopt it.
Okay, do we have anyone who wants to move this? Moved by June Demmerling, second by Paul Wetlaufer. Any discussion on it before we do the vote? See none. All in favor? Thank you very much. That's carried. We have nothing for closed session. Agenda indicates our next scheduled meeting would be September the 28th. Does that still suit everyone? Okay. Is there anything else to be brought up?
Just my usual reminder before the Mitchell Fall Fair that it's good PR for the OPP, and it's kind of an accepted practice from the people of West Perth that the cruiser leads the parade. And I know we've had it and then we haven't had it for some reasons, and it's very noticeable when you're not leading the parade. So I just mark it on your calendar, just a reminder, and go from there. It can be an auxiliary member. I don't think it matters. It's just the fact that you lead the parade. I just go to Jim Tubb now and just tell him put the fire truck in the front.
The board gets many calls.
Okay. Is there anything else for today? I would like to say this is probably our first West Perth Police Services Board meeting since Wendy got her new title as inspector and detachment commander for Perth County. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And it's an honor to be able to come here and serve in Perth County. So thank you.
And unfortunately for us, this would be Libitza's last attending a meeting for the West Perth Police Services Board, as she is moving on to a new position. So thank you for everything you have done for us, Libitza. If nothing else, we'll look for adjournment. Moved by Walter, seconded by Paul, all in favor. That is carried. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.